Hi everybody, this is Chrissy with Bongos Interactive, and I am going to show you how to build an app with WordPress. This is an update to our previous video on the same topic. We wanted to update some of the prices and some of the tools and add a few new tools that we found over the course of the last couple of years. So in this presentation, we are going to just give you an overview. We're not going to go super in depth on any particular products or any particular tools, but we will talk a little bit about what some of the pros and cons of each of them are, and talk about what might work for a developer versus a non-developer. But we're not going to go really in depth on anything. You'll need to actually try the tools out yourself to see what's going to work best for you. But we will talk about why you might want to build a mobile app. We'll also go over our very simplified app development checklist. And then we will talk about several tools that you can use for building your apps. And then finally, we'll talk about what you need to do to actually publish your app. So first of all, why do you want to build a mobile app? We get this question a lot. A lot of times we review the requirements for a client and we tell them you really don't need an app. You probably just want to make a really good mobile version of your website. You don't necessarily need an app to do what you're trying to do. So some reasons why you might want to build an app is you don't want your users to have to remember the URL. This is really common for events. So we actually do a lot of apps for conferences and other events where we don't want the user to have to remember. So they might be going to an event for an organization, and we don't want the user to have to remember the website for the organization, the website for the conference, the website for that specific session, or anything like that. We want them to just be able to get to the information for that particular event from their tablet, from their phone, from their smart device. It's just a lot easier that way. So we might want to build a mobile app for that. Another reason why we might want to build a mobile app is if we want users to be able to use native features. So for example, we want them to use native sharing, like we want them to be able to share their content via text message or via Facebook or Twitter. Some of those you can do from a website, but some of them you can't. So like you can't necessarily share via text message or even have it so that you can click and dial a phone on a website, whereas you can sometimes do that with an app. You can actually do a click to dial a phone from a website, but there are some other features that you can use on a mobile app that you can't necessarily use on a website. Some other native features that we like to use are things like push notifications, geolocation, using the camera, lots of other features that we can have in there. And then the other thing is that it might be less expensive than you might think. So when we look at some of the tools, you'll see that the cost for building the app is not as expensive as it was even just a few years ago. When we first started building apps, it was considerably more expensive because you had to really build everything from scratch. Now you can actually use a lot of these tools to cut down on the development time. And sometimes you can even get away with not having to hire a separate developer to do the app development for you. It just really depends on what kind of customization you need. All right, now using native features, I do have to mention this because it's very, very important. When you are considering building an app, if you are not going to use any native features, you might want to reconsider whether or not you truly need to build an app. You probably need at least 2, maybe 3 native features in your app. Otherwise, it might even be rejected by at least the Apple Store. So you want to make sure that you have those push notifications or native sharing or things like sharing pictures from the camera and stuff like that. You want to have a feature that does some of that. Some of those native features have to be in there in order for it to even be considered and not be just outright rejected on some of the stores. So just be aware of that. And again, if you're not using the native features, you might want to really consider that you need to have this app in the first place. All right, so now we're going to take a look at my very, very simplified app development checklist. So this used to be much longer and more detailed, but I really want to just kind of cut to the chase with this. So the first thing you're going to do is select your tool. So which tool you're going to use to build your app, and we will go over what all the tools are that, not all of them, but several of them in just a minute. You then want to configure and customize your app. Sometimes it's super easy. Sometimes that can take you a couple of minutes, a couple of hours. Sometimes it could take you a couple of days or even a couple of months or longer. It just depends on what you're trying to build. Then you're going to preview and test your app. And in some cases, you can preview it in the browser. you're probably going to want to make sure you actually preview and test it on the devices that the app will end up on. So you want to test it on your phone, you want to test it on your tablets, and so on. Then you're going to fix any issues. I say bugs because I'm a programmer, so I'm usually fixing bugs that need fixing via programming. But for some of these tools, it might just be issues like spelling errors and stuff like that. So you need to fix those. And then after you fix them, you need to go back and repeat. So it says next checklist item is repeat previous 2 steps until everything works. So you do have to go back, preview and test, fix a bug. And then you find more bugs. After you preview and test again, and then you fix those bugs. And then you go back and preview and test again and fix more bugs until you've squished all the bugs that you can find. You've had lots of user testing. Once that's done, you're actually ready to publish. So it's actually a bit more complicated than what's in this list, a lot more complicated in some cases, but the actual steps as far as configuring and customizing, preview testing, publishing even, those are going to vary widely depending on which tools you end up using. All right, now as far as the actual tools that you can use for building your app, there are quite a few of them. So this list is not exhaustive by any stretch of the imagination, not even close. Some of these tools are JavaScript libraries, some of them are frameworks, some of them are specifically for use with WordPress, so some of them are actually WordPress plugins. Some of them are complete tools that allow you to build the app and integrate with WordPress, bring in some of the WordPress content. So there are tons of different things on here that you can use. Now, the other thing I do want to mention is some of these are for building games. So for example, Game Salad and Stencil are specifically for building games. They don't integrate with WordPress, but I did want to mention them because they are tools that you can use to build apps with. Now, the ones in this list that are marked with an asterisk are going to be specifically for use with WordPress. So those are some tools that are either plugins or services that are specifically for building apps with WordPress. Now, the linkable the slideshow that I'm showing here, we will actually make this available after the presentation is done. I'll make the link to the public slideshow. So all of these are clickable links. You don't have to figure out what the URL is, but you will actually be able to go through and click on the links for all of these later on. Now, with each of these tools, for many, if not most, or maybe even all of the tools, you do need to have a Google and or Apple developer license. That's required to generate some of the files that you need to submit your app to the appropriate store. You need to make certificates, you need to make provisioning profiles. We're not going to get into how to make all of those on this presentation. We might do another presentation later on how to do that, but you will need to get those developer licenses in many cases to submit your app to the store. So in addition to whatever monthly fees you have to pay for, or annual fees for some of the tools, you'll have to also remember that you have to pay this one-time $25 fee to Google to sign up for a developer license there, and then a $99 per year with Apple to have a developer license with them. And again, these are clickable links in the presentation, which we'll give you access to after the presentation's over. So I've split the tools that we like up into developer versus non-developer. I know a lot of you that are watching this are not developers. You're not programmers. So you want an easy way to use your WordPress website's content in an app. And you want to be able to just update your website and it automatically updates your app. So I am going to show you a few tools that you can use for that. I'm also going to show you a few tools for developers. Now, I'm not going to go super in depth on any of these tools. We're just going to kind of log in, take a look at some of them and see what they're going to give you, how much they cost. But we're not going to get not super in depth on any of these. So the first one, and these are actually in alphabetical order, so they're not in any order of preference or anything like that. I just put them in alphabetical order. The first non-developer tool that I want to show you is called App Machine. And App Machine it's a nice tool. It's really easy to use. It has a visual editor. It's not WordPress specific, but you can do some integration using a web services block. That might require a developer to help you. You can actually include your WordPress posts very easily. So, and I'll show you. It's super easy to do that. It's pretty customizable as far as appearance. Some of the more advanced customization features will require you to use Photoshop, might require you to create PNG files. So if you're not comfortable with that, you might need to work with a designer for that. So we're going to open up App Machine. It is a web-based service. It actually has a nice visual editor. So I'm going to start building. So let's click on this to start building. I'm going to log in. I already have an account that I created a little earlier. Let's log in. See what my apps are going to look like. So I already built an app earlier. I'm actually going to create a new one because I want you to see how that works. So we're not going to take a look at that one. We're going to create a new app. And the app is going to be for the Coder Kids Club. There's a program that I run. So we're going to type in the URL and scan it. So this is actually one of the features I do like about this particular tool is that it will go to your website and it will search for all of the content on your website. So it's going to find my Facebook profile. If I have one on the website, it's going to find some pictures. It'll find my Twitter feed. And it's also finding this icon here on the end is for my RSS feed. So it's actually going to find my RSS feed. If I have YouTube channel linked on there or Google G+, it will find those for me. So it searched the website. So I'm going to hit next. And now it wants to add my Facebook page. So it found my Coder Kids Club Facebook page. I'm going to add that. I'm also going to add my Coder Kids Club Twitter to the app and my RSS feed. If I want to, I can see what the feed looks like. If any of you, I don't have a RSS feeder, never mind. So it's just going to look like a bunch of XML. So but the app will actually be able to read that and put it in a format that's really nice for display. So now the next thing I need to do is pick a skin, which is going to be the appearance of my website. So they've got a bunch that are already built for you. Coder Kids Club is a program for kids to learn how to code, kind of as the name suggests. So I don't really see anything that would work perfectly with this, but we're going to just pick one. Let's go with, I like this one. This is a nice colorful one. So we're going to pick that one. And it's not letting me use Coder Kids Club because Coder Kids Club already exists. So we're going to say Coder Kids Club app. All right. So now if I wanted to, I could install a previewer. There's an App Machine previewer that I can install on my phone. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to just preview the web-based version of it. So I'm going to hit finish. And there is a preview of my app. Now I can tweak my app. This is actually pretty cool. This web-based preview, I can click on Twitter, for example, and that'll take me to the Twitter page of my app. It's going to take a minute to load there. All right. So while it's doing that, we'll take a look. Let's see if we can look at Facebook. Oh, wow. It's taking a while to load. We're not going to worry about that. So, okay, there it is. I also want to take a look at my news. So right now it just says Coder Kids Club. So we're going to say instead, what's new? And we can see that that actually loads all of the posts from my webpage. So there is my WordPress integration. Super easy. I didn't even have to do anything. It just did it for me automatically. Now, this is pretty much the extent for a non-developer of what you can do as far as integrating the website, the WordPress website with your app. If this is enough, you're good. You're done. There are some additional features you can add. So for example, I can add more blocks. So if I click on add block, you have basic, plus, and pro. They each cost a different amount. So we're not going to get too much into the cost for that. But so I could add a call button, which would allow me to let users call. And they press the button. So we'll say call now. There we go. So if a user hits call now, right there, it's going to bring up that that prompt to dial the phone. Now, another block that you can add under plus is the web shop, and you can use that to link to, I have WooCommerce on my website, on the Coder Kids Club website, so I could link to that. It doesn't really integrate with it though. So it might integrate with some of the other shops out there. I haven't tried it, but it doesn't really integrate with WooCommerce. It just puts the web version of the page in the app. Thankfully, I have a mobile friendly, I have a responsive website, so it looks okay, but it doesn't use the same background and same fonts or anything like that. Another feature that we have here that's actually managed within the App Machine tool and not within WordPress is you can add a loyalty card. So it's a way that users can check off that they've been to your store, they've purchased something, and you can get discounts from it. You can also send coupons to your users. Under Pro, we also have the ability to add a web service. So you could hook into the WordPress API to get content. So other than just the latest posts, you could get more content. So if you have custom post types, such as events or anything like that, you could feed those into the app. It does take a little bit more programming. You'd probably need a developer to help you with that one. So I'm not going to add any more. So now if I want to preview my app again, I can download the previewer to my phone, and then I can use that to preview the app. I'm not going to right now. But when I'm ready to go, I can hit buy now. And you can see that it starts at $49 a month. That's if you buy it annually, or you can pay $59 a month if you want to do monthly. It's not that expensive. I'm not positive, but I believe that this monthly does include push notifications, and I think it also includes publishing the app. I'm not sure if it includes the Google and Apple developer licenses. They do also require you, if you don't want to have white labeling, or sorry, if you do want to have white labeling. So by default, the App Machine is going to be on your app. So a reference to App Machine is going to be on there. You can remove that for $300, $299, and I believe that is a one-time fee. I hope it's not $299 a month because that's a lot. So I'm not gonna go all the way through for the billing or anything, but just be aware that you're gonna look at least $358 to publish this app, and I'm not positive if that includes the developer license or not. So we're gonna close that one. And again, really nice tool here. The other thing I do want to point out here is that you can change the design of your app pretty easily, and it actually has a pretty good amount of customization available. So I can change the fonts for iOS, I can change my colors, I can change my background image, all kinds of really cool stuff in here. I can add a logo, I can change the images that are being used, and a really nice feature that they have here is that you can download the PSD that has all of the different icons, buttons, and everything in it, and you can use that to make new ones. So very nice features that we've got there. All right, so we're going to close that. We're going to close App Machine, and we're going to take a look at the next one, which is Como DIY. So with this one, I couldn't find the pricing, and I really didn't want to spend a lot of time hunting around for it. But it looks like a really nice tool, so it's definitely worth a look. Como actually has a lot of other features like point of sale and other features that you might already be using or you might be interested in taking a look at. So relatively easy to use. So again, you enter your Facebook page or your website, it grabs all your content. And again, like the previous one, App Machine, it doesn't integrate exactly except for getting your RSS feed. So for a lot of people, that's perfectly fine. That's really all you need for your integration. Now, we'll take a look at this one as well. So we're going to create an app. And this is going to be Coder Kids Club. And I don't want to connect with my Facebook. I'm going to enter my URL again. There we go. Notice it's not making me create an account to create my app. So it's going to ask me what kind of app I want to create. I'm going to do others, I guess. Go next. And it does take a few seconds, well, a few minutes to get all of the information. It's going to my website. It's collecting the RSS feed. It's checking my Facebook page, checking Twitter, YouTube, all that good stuff. So we're going to let it run for a minute here. See what we get when it's done. All right, still spinning. Still spinning. There we go. Oh, it's putting lots of good stuff up there. So it's getting a lot of information from my website. It's popping it right in there into the app. And now it's giving me my beautiful app already. That was fast. Now, I can add additional features. We're going to take a look at the ones that are already in there. It's going to walk me through some of the recommended features. So we're just going to hit next here. I can update my existing content and I can save my work. So we're done. So again, it gives you a preview of what the app is going to look like on a phone. So that's pretty nice. So we take a look at Twitter. This is, again, very similar to what we had in the previous one. We could take a look at my news. This is my RSS feed coming over from my website. So I kind of like the way that this one looks a little bit better than the App Machine one. I mean, it really is, it's a personal preference. I like the way this one looks a little bit more. Pretty nice looking thing here. You can scroll through it. Here we go. Events. I don't have any events. I actually do have events on my site, but they are not pulling the events from my site. So I actually have an event section on the website that doesn't, the information's not getting pulled from there. We'll take a look at Facebook. Beautiful. It's putting my Facebook posts. I posted this because they now have llamas in the latest version of Minecraft, which is very exciting for the kids. And we'll take a look at photos. So the photos are actually coming from the Facebook page. So it found my Facebook page and then it went through and it got all the photos from it. So nice map. It found my address on my website and it's putting a map there. So I'm waving at y'all from 2147 Priest Bridge Drive. And then contact, it's going to give me a link to my website. So now I can go through and I can edit each of these. So you can see I can click on each of the existing app features and I can edit them. So if I want to click on contact us, I can edit that. I can change the picture. I can add some more content. And you can see it adds the text there. I can add the email address if I want. I can add my phone. Typed it in wrong. I'm having trouble typing here. So if I hit call, it doesn't work in simulator mode. If I hit email, they don't work. All right. Now I also have the ability to change the layout somewhat, which is really nice. I kind of like that layout more. So I'm going to change that. You can change the image for the background. If we go to Twitter, again, you've got a lot of functionality here that's built in. Again, I can change my layout. I think I like this. I like that one better. We can look at the map. They don't let you change the layout on that. Video, it's actually going, it's getting the Coder Kids Club YouTube channel. We just did a mannequin challenge in class last night, so we've got the kids up there. This is some videos from our kids animation class. Let's see, it doesn't have anything you can do differently there. So news is my RSS feed. Looks like it's getting it from 2 places. I've got 2 RSS feeds for some reason. And again, you can change the layout with that, which is really nice. So you can have it so that they each look like those kind of cards. So you've got a lot of, I like that first layout, the one that they had for default. All right, now we're going to look at events. I want to look at events and see what that is. It's trying to get the events from my Facebook page. Right now, I don't have my events on my Facebook page. If we look at past events, I do have some that were there. So I actually have to get better about integrating, adding my events to Facebook. I haven't been doing that. So if I was, and there's actually a way to add the events to Facebook, and then there's a plugin that lets me get the events from Facebook into the event calendar that we're using in WordPress. So in a way, I could integrate them a little bit better. Haven't done that yet, but so I could get that information in there if I wanted to. And let's see, so photos they're coming from Facebook. I could add Picasa if I wanted to. I probably would add Picasa instead and just have a app-specific stream for my photos. Now I can add some more features. So for example, I could add a scratch card, which is really nice, or I could add coupons. So we'll say scratch card. I can create a scratch card. So code to earn. Just adding some random stuff here. Oops. Not adding, oh, we don't want to add, I don't want to add the picture if I don't have to. I'm not going to go through and add all this stuff. But there is scratch card. Let me actually remove this. Delete that feature. And we'll add instead a loyalty card. So you got to create a new one. Now this content is not integrated with your website. It does not exist on your website. It only exists in your app. Something cool. Add a stamp icon. Cool code card. This would, for the Coder Kids Club, it would be mostly parents coming in to changing things. So you can get someone, when you go to the location, you can get someone from the location to enter the code to stamp the card. So really nice little feature there. Add some customer loyalty. So some other features that they've got, again, they've got coupons. There are some, you can add some custom features, so you can add custom content. This is not integrated with your website, so just be aware of that. And let's see, you can add, oops, a contact. You can add a form. So the book an appointment is really nice if you have a service or a store where you need people to be able to book appointments. But again, it's not integrated with your WordPress site. So the big integration here is that you have your RSS feed. So again, not super integrated, but you can still have your mobile app being updated from your WordPress website, which is a really, really big deal. All right, so again, that is, I'm going to leave this page. That is our Como. I think I'm saying it right, Como DIY. One thing though is that you can't really customize as much as you could with the app machine, as far as I could tell. They do have a lot more already built for you. So sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. I have seen some apps out there with some horrible color schemes. Most likely it was because somebody customized the heck out of them and they picked that color scheme and it wasn't something that a designer picked out. So it's kind of nice that in the case of Como, that they give you color schemes and they don't let you really deviate from those color schemes. All right, so now the last non-developer one that we're going to look at is one that we looked at in our previous presentation on this, Shoutem. I think I'm saying it right. This one's really nice. It's actually very inexpensive to get started. It starts at $19.90 a month, but you're going to have to pay at least $49 a month to actually publish an app. You can make an HTML5 app, which is not really an app, but you can't really publish it to the Apple or Google stores unless you pay $49 a month, which really, again, it's not that much if you think about it. Again, it's not WordPress specific. You can do this without a WordPress site, but this one is nice because they do actually have a plugin that adds a bit more integration between WordPress and the tool. So that's a pretty nice feature. You do still manage a lot of your content from within Shoutem, but it's still pretty nice. So we're going to take a look at this one. Let's go ahead and open this up. All right, so we're going to create my app. And again, like this is very similar to some of the other tools where we get several skins that we can choose from. They've got a few. I like this one. We're going to create the app. Really nice UI here. So it's beaming me up to the mobile universe. So now this one's a little bit different in that it doesn't go and get the information from my website. So I'm going to actually create an account. I might actually, no, I think I already have an account. Hold on 1 second here. Logging in. Nope, hold on 1 second. Let me get my login information to copy and paste there. Excuse the typing here. I'll just be 1 second. There we go. Okay. Log it in. It is not being my friend right now. Okay. So now it's logging me in. So you can see I've been playing around a little bit in here. So I'm going to create a new app. Create my app. Let's go in. All right. There we go. All right. So like the other tools, you can preview on your device in the web browser, which is a really nice feature. You don't actually have to publish it to see what it would look like on a phone. So they have some layouts for the homepage. The homepage, this is the homepage or the home screen. You've got a few different layouts you can play around with. So it takes a second for it to load. And I apologize for the slowness. I've been having some internet problems today. Wi-Fi here has not been my friend. All right, there we go. So now it's loading them. So now, similar to the other tools that where you're adding blocks of content, your events, you actually have to change the content here. Places. I'm actually going to remove some of these so I can add them again. There we go. Okay, so we're going to go to About Us. You can change the styles, the graphics, the icons that are being used. So you do have some customization you can do there. Now, you can also change the actual content. I just clicked on that little pencil. It's not super obvious, but I can go and click on that pencil to go into the content and change what is actually going to be on this particular page. Now I'm going to add some content, and you can see that they have quite a few features in here. So I could add news. So again, I could add my RSS. So I'm going to type in coderkidsclub.com. It should find the RSS feed for me automatically. Let's see. Yep, found the feed for me. Yay. So it added that. All right. And I can also add special deals. I can add links to a website. Now it does have integration with Shopify. So if you're using Shopify already on your website and that's already integrated with WordPress, then you can have some integration with that. You can also add your Twitter. So you have to actually authorize the app. So it's a little bit more complicated than some of the other tools. And you can add a YouTube channel. I'm not going to do that right now, but you could add that. And you can add loyalty programs and other really cool stuff. So this is another really nice feature. One of the things I do like about Shoutem is that you do have some more analytics. You probably have some of these in these other tools, but I didn't get through them far enough and I didn't publish to be able to see that I had these analytics. So that's one thing I do like about Shoutem, is that you can see that you have these analytics. Yeah, it has to actually be published, but I didn't even know if those other ones had the analytics. This one, it was obvious that I do have them. So that's pretty nice. Now, when I'm ready to actually publish, so if I hit publish, again, it's going to tell me it's going to suggest a plan based on what I'm actually using, tell me how much it's going to cost. I can do monthly or annual. And again, the price varies. It's comparable to the other ones. You can enter your billing information. Now, I am going to take a look at the pricing page. So you can see that they have, for $49 a month if you're billed annually, it's you can publish iPhone app, Android app, HTML5, and you get push notifications with that. You might want to have something a little bit more robust. That would be $119.90 a month, so it's a bit more expensive. But you do have a lot of features in those plans. Now, if you want to pay a little bit more, then you can use their professional setup and they're actually going to go through and set up the site for you. So this is nice, and I believe the other tools have this as well, where you can hire a developer to do it for you, probably for about the same price. But so what this is going to do is they are going to build the app for you. They're going to do more comprehensive design changes and make it look exactly the way that you want, without you having to spend the time to figure out how to do it yourself. So that's really useful because your time is money, and if you don't have to spend the time doing this and you can just pay somebody else to do it, you're probably going to end up saving money in the long run, and you're probably going to end up with a better result anyway. So for some of these, if you want just the bare basics, you can just get started with a basic app, and then down the road you can ask for a professional setup to really punch it up a bit. All right, so that is it for the non-developer tools. So we've got, again, it was App Machine, Como, and Shoutem. So you've got a lot of features there. Now we're going to take a quick look at some of the tools that are available for developers. And there are very many of them. If you remember back to that slide where I had all those tools listed and a whole bunch of asterisks were next to several of them because they were specifically for WordPress. The difficulty level for these is intermediate to advanced, and for most users, for these tools in particular, you probably need to do some programming. You need to have a programmer on staff, or you need to have programming experience, specifically with WordPress, or you need to hire somebody to do it for you. And that's what we do. We actually do a lot of development where we take existing WordPress sites and we turn them into apps using some of these tools. So again, alphabetical order. I'm not giving you a preference, which I like better. I won't even mention which ones we use most often. But so the first one that we have here, again in alphabetical order, is AppPresser. AppPresser is a WordPress plugin, and it does require a WordPress site. And that WordPress site has to be self-hosted. It cannot be on WordPress.com. AppPresser needs to be installed on the WordPress site where the content is coming from, where you're actually going to be building the app. So they actually have a core plugin that's free that you can use, but you really need the paid extensions to make it really work. So just be aware of that. This is geared towards developers, so it's definitely harder than the non-developer tools, but they are actually adding some new features in the next version of AppPresser 3 that's supposed to come out in early 2017. But that should make it a lot easier. There's a lot more sort of dashboard customization and wizards that are going to be involved with that to make it easier for non-developers to use, but it still does require a developer to install it and do some of the customization. So if we take a look at apppresser.com, that's the website. Let's bring that up. And we can see, have a few examples of some websites on there. One thing that they don't currently have that they will be adding, I believe, in the next version is the ability to preview the app in the web browser. Right now, what you can do is you can actually just go to the app in the web browser using something on the URL string to view it, but it's not a real preview exactly. But So there you have it. Now, why might you want to use this instead of some of those other tools? Well, number one is there's a much tighter customization with WordPress, much tighter integration with WordPress, because you're actually using the WordPress site for your customization. So if you already have a WordPress site that has BuddyPress in it, it's already got WooCommerce, or it's got the events calendar or anything like that already built into it, then it's already integrated and you can use a lot of that content in the app. So what's really happening when you're using this is you're building an HTML5 version of your website through the plugin. That's the long and short of it. Now, as far as the pricing, you can do from as low as $199 for just the basics. If you're going to be doing a lot, you're probably going to want to get the agency, which is $4.99, and this is an annual fee, so you're paying $4.99 per year. But notice that you can have more than one app. So what we actually use, we have the agency license for this, and we use the plugins with our different clients. So we've got a few clients that use different plugins. I'm sorry, have different conferences that use this. So we're paying for the 25 licenses, and we haven't run out of licenses with all of the apps that we've actually used this on. We actually do use a lot of the plugins, a lot of the extra features like camera, and you can see that that's in the Woo and the BuddyPress bundles. We've done stuff with BuddyPress with it. We've had requests to add app analytics to some of our apps, so we're going to start using that. And the social sharing is a huge requested feature. Social sharing is massive for a lot of our clients, and also push notifications. Right now, to do the push notifications, you actually have to use a separate service. You have to use Push Whoosh, which it's relatively easy, but it's another $50 a month that you have to pay to do the push notifications. My understanding is that in the next version of AppPresser that's supposed to come out in 2017, that you won't have to have a separate service, that you will use their service. It's going to be included, and the price supposedly is not going to change. That's what they're saying. They've got a blog post about it that I just got an email about. That's part of why I was prompted to update this this video. And again, I'll have to update it again once AppPresser 3 comes out. But we do like using AppPresser. It's relatively easy to get set up for a developer. To do some customization of the appearance, it does require having a developer that knows how to do theme development, that knows JavaScript, knows CSS pretty well. And then again, some of the other features, it does require a programmer to really take full advantage of this. So just something to be aware of. But we've built a few apps with this. Now, as far as the other one that we use, the other one that we like, so you can see there's just some more information about that I've already talked about. Oops, oh shoot, I'm sorry. I forgot to add the slides for WP App Kit. So I will just, sorry about that, WP App Kit. I'll add that to the slideshow before I publish it, but let me go to WP App Kit. It's uncategorized. Oh, sorry. WP. I am so embarrassed. I'm sorry about that. I had the wrong name. Okay, so it's uncategorized creations, WP App Kit. And again, this is for developers. It's really nice. It's got a lot of features. You are using WordPress. It's a plugin. You are going to be building an HTML5 version of your website using this plugin. It does require a developer to do it. Now, with both the WP App Kit and the AppPresser, you're actually going to be using something called PhoneGap to do the final build for your app. So what PhoneGap does is it creates sort of a native wrapper for your app so that it can be published to the Google Play and the Apple Store. So that's just something to be aware of. You have to use PhoneGap. You have to have a PhoneGap account. as of right now. I'm not sure if that's changing for AppPresser, but so, and you can see it's got a lot of features. That, again, it's a WordPress plugin. It's currently, I don't know if they're still in beta. It's you can see it's a release. I'm not sure if it's like a final release or if it's still really a beta or not. But they have a lot of really nice features here, so it is worth taking a look. One thing that's really nice about it is that it's free, so you're not paying $4.99, you're not paying $5.99, you're not paying $50 a month. You're using it for free, and it does have a pretty good tight integration with WordPress, so you can use a lot of the content from your WordPress website, which is a huge deal. That's part of why you're watching this video. So it is worth a mention. It's worth taking a look. Again, it is for developers. You can see there's a lot of technical information on this website. So just be aware that you will need to be either be a programmer or have a programmer available to help you to take full advantage of the WP App Kit. But it is a pretty nice alternative for this. All right, so back to the slideshow. And again, I'll add the WP App Kit slide. I am so sorry about that. Please forgive me. So we're going to take a look. We're going to move on after we've decided on which tool you're going to use, and you've built your app. So we're going through that checklist again. So you've chosen a tool, you've created and configured your app, you've tested it, you've refined it, you've tested it again, you refined it again, you've fixed your bugs. Well, now it's time to publish it. So this is the big deal. This is where you're almost done. Now, before you publish it, who is going to be the publisher? And this is something that you want to look at with all of the tools that you're considering. If you have a service that approaches you and says, we want to build an app for you. We're gonna build an app and it's gonna cost X amount of dollars per month. It's gonna cost X amount of dollars to build it, customize it, and then we're gonna publish it for you. And don't worry, you don't need to have a Google developer license. You don't need to have that $99 Apple license, $99 per year Apple license. You don't need that. We can publish it for you. So let's say that you're in the App Store and you're looking for the official Facebook app, and you find you search for Facebook in the App Store and you find an app that says it's Facebook, but it's published by Bookface or something like that, and you're thinking, well, I'm not really sure if that's legit. And you're thinking, well, maybe it's a malicious app. How it could be. You never know. What you do need to consider when you get these services who say you don't need a license, you don't need to pay that license, when they're publishing the app, they're publishing it as them. So it is going to be under their account, and which is okay, which is fine for them, but they are going to be the publisher of the app. So even though it might be your store or your event or your product or your website, your service, it is going to be published by that provider. So it is worth checking into, and I do advise that you use a service, that you use an account where you are providing your own your own Apple and Google licenses, and that they are publishing the app as you. Even if it costs a little bit of extra money, you're paying that $99 a year for Apple, you're paying that $25 one-time fee for Google, it's worth it because they're publishing it as you and not as themselves. I think it just adds a little bit of extra credibility, a little bit of extra authenticity, and you don't have your users saying, is this really them or is this just some malicious app? So just something to keep in mind before you publish your app. Now, when you do go to publish your app, if you're doing it yourself, now if you're using a lot of those non-developer tools that I mentioned, you don't have to worry about this. All you have to do is you have to get the Apple and Google developer accounts, and then you're going to give the Apple and Google developer login information to the provider, to the tool, to the service that's doing it for you. And they're going to make all these certificates and keys for you. But if you are the developer and you're using something like AppPresser or WP AppKit, then you have to create these certificates and keys yourself. It is not super easy. Every time I have to create a new app. I have to look through my notes to remind myself, how do I do it again? Because I don't create apps every day. So I create one every month or two. So sometimes I forget, what do I do? What are the steps to make the keys or the certificates for this particular OS? So again, this is something that I will probably do another presentation on in the near future. We have had a lot of requests for it, so I would like to add it at some point. But this is another thing that you have to worry about if you're publishing as the developer. Again, if you're not a developer and you're using something like App Machine or Como or Shoutem, you don't have to do this. They will do it for you. But so basically what the certificates and the keys do is they digitally sign the app so that you're verifying your authenticity and your identification. So it's just a way to say this is a legit person who has this developer account. It is kind of a pain, but it is necessary. So just something to be aware of. Now, if you're using push notifications, there's also a little bit of extra work that you have to do. So if you're doing it through Google, you have to create a Google server key. It's a little extra work. If you're doing it for iOS, you have to also create another certificate for that as well. All right. Now, also for iOS, you also have to create a provisioning profile, and you'll do that in the Apple Developer Portal. All right, so after you've gotten your keys and you've built, so you get your keys, basically what happens as a developer is you get those keys, those certificates, the provisioning profiles, all that good stuff, and then you are going to build, you're going to make a build of your app. You would use something like PhoneGap Build to do that. So it's going to take all of those keys, certificates, everything else. It's going to take your app itself and it's going to compile them into packages that you would then upload to Google Play, to the Google Play Store, or through iTunes. So you want to actually get those builds, and you want to make beta versions of your app. So you've done your testing in the web browser, and you saw that a lot of those tools, they give you previews. So you've done all that testing. Once you've done all that testing and you've gotten your certificates and your keys and you've made your first build, that's going to be your alpha or your beta build, and you're going to test that. You want to make sure that you're testing it on the target devices. So you are testing it on an iPhone, you're testing it on an iPad, you're testing it on the latest Samsung Galaxy that doesn't explode. You're testing it on pretty much anything you can get your hands on that one of your users might need to use for the app. So you're testing it on all these devices. If you can't get your hands on the physical devices, you can use emulators to test it on there. I've got emulators all over my computer. I've got Android and iOS emulators. So they are out there. You can install them on your computer and test the apps on those. You want to make sure you test, and then, as we talked about in that checklist before, if you find bugs there, you've got to redo. You've got to make fixes. You've got to fix those bugs, and you've got to recompile, and you've got to do another build, and you've got to test it again and again and again until everything is working the way that it's supposed to be working. So once you've done all that testing, then you can publish your final app. So you're going to submit the final tested app to the stores, typically to the Google and the iTunes, Apple stores. For Google, the submissions are done through their Developer Center. And again, this active link will be clickable when you get the slideshow. And Apple submissions are done through something called iTunes Connect. So once you've done that submission, the store publishes the app, so it's available for purchase, or most of our apps are free, so it's either available for download or for purchase. There is a bit of a delay. So Google, it usually takes them, I haven't had an app take longer than 24 hours when I've published to Google. I can't think of any that have taken longer than a day for that. Apple can take a bit longer, so expect at least 24 hours. We usually tell clients, anticipate at least a week, give it 2 weeks just in case, because we have had, especially, we sometimes get apps that need to be submitted at the very end of the year for whatever budgeting purposes. It has to be done by the end of the year. So we sometimes submit them around the holidays, and it can take a little bit longer for them to get approved at that point. Now, be aware that Apple or Google can reject your app. And if they reject your app, they will give you a reason. They'll tell you why they've rejected it. And you've got to either accept it or you've got to fix it and you've got to try to submit it again. And that's why we usually try to have our apps ready at least 2 weeks before the client wants to launch the app. So that we're submitting them at least a couple of weeks. Usually we try to say 4 weeks. We're starting to submit them at least 4 weeks for review so that we have plenty of time in case there are any issues so we can resubmit it. So once you've submitted it, if it's published, if it's accepted, great, you're done. Your app is available in those stores for purchase or for download. Otherwise, you have to fix it, and then you've got to go through and you've got to test it again, and you've got to resubmit it after you fix those errors. Now, when you are submitting the app, so before you can actually publish the app, you actually have to create a record for each of the stores. So this list is actually a combined list of the record information for both Google Play and Apple. So you want to go through and you want to get all of this information, and you have to actually create the record in Google Play, in the developer account, and in the Apple Store and iTunes Connect to submit the app to each of those places. So you need to have a name, a SKU number. It's just a unique identifier for your internal use, a description, a short paragraph, promo text, categories, price, all this stuff. You want to make sure that you collect this. If you're the one doing the developing and it's your app, you should know it. Otherwise, you want to get it from your client if you're developing an app for them. One other thing that's very important is that you need to have screenshots for each supported device. This can be a kind of a pain thing. So this especially for non-developers gets to be a pain because if you don't have all the devices to test it on, and you don't know how to use the emulators to try it on your computer and get the screenshots from there, this can be kind of a pain to do. So just be aware. This part right here, the taking the screenshots, that can sometimes take as long as some of these a lot of other steps that are involved. So that one I usually allocate several hours of time because sometimes you have to sort of fudge it. You have to get the screenshot and you've got to scale it and you've got to add stuff to it. So it can be kind of a pain to do that. So just be aware. All right, so that is the last of our presentation. I will actually have the slideshow available for you ASAP. I will post it. I'll post a link in the video description once this is done. It's going to be about 15 minutes or so before I can upload it because I have to add the WP app kit. I don't want to post it and not have that available for you. So if you have any questions, please comment. Just put a comment in there. On the previous version of this video, we had lots of comments and we try to answer them as quickly as possible. So ask away. We will try to do presentations on things specific, more detailed, more in-depth looks at things like creating the certificates and the keys and creating the Google Play and the Apple accounts and things like using AppPresser and WP App Kit for those developers. If you have questions about some of those other tools, the non-developer tools that I showed you, make sure you ask the companies that provide those tools for more information. They are happy to tell it to you. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Otherwise, hopefully we'll see you again in the next presentation. Thanks and goodbye.